It's Ron Reader digs the universe. I'm Ron Reader, and this is Ron Reader Digs the Universe. And tonight, even the GOP fears MAGA fascism. I remember a few years back how some political scientists were arguing that it is inaccurate to describe MAGA as a fascist movement because it had not yet taken control of the mass media. Of course, that view glosses over the fact that German Nazis were fascists well before they took control of Germany's mass media, but what do I know? I've just got a frivolous theater degree. At any rate, the argument is definitely over now while we watch Trump literally taking over the mass media by way of FTC and FCC regulatory terrorism. Just ask Stephen Colbert or the journalists who run 60 Minutes. No respectable political scientist disagrees with the assertion that MAGA is fascist. Indeed, it has become so utterly obvious that MAGA is fascist that some conservatives are getting nervous about it. And I'm not talking about the so-called never-Trumpers. I am talking about some hardcore MAGA believers. We got a lot of far right-wing Heritage Foundation staffers, you know, the people who authored Project 2025. Well, they're all walking out of the Heritage Foundation because their president has refused to condemn Tucker Carlson for platforming neo-Nazi Nick Fuentes. We saw Ben Shapiro condemning heavily at TPUSACon, or whatever the fuck it's called, condemning heavily the rising tide of clear and hateful MAGA anti-Semitism, even while MAGA anti-Semites were condemning him at the same conference. We got Newsmax, the media organization created to be more right-wing and more extremist than Fox. Well, we got them running a segment decrying those anti-Semitic speakers, condemning Shapiro, as well as decrying their conspiratorial anti-Semitic stance on Israel, noting that they're not saying Judeo-Christian values anymore, they're just saying Christian values, and so on. There are some very nervous people in MAGA world right now. They're afraid that MAGA is going full Nazi. And it's like, oh, now they see it? That MAGA is fascist has been obvious since the very beginning. That anti-Semitism has been an empowering faction within MAGA has been obvious since the very beginning. Remember the Unite the Right rally back in 2017? Jews will not replace us. Jews will not replace us. What the fuck? The internment camps for immigrants didn't bother them. The DHS turning into the Gestapo didn't bother them. The racism has been just fine. They love the nationalism. They love their charismatic leader, their chosen one. And they couldn't see that the entire point to MAGA must necessarily always lead to anti-Semitism. What a bunch of deluded fucking morons. I mean, they're right to be afraid of MAGA fascism. I am too, but fuck them. They threw as much gasoline on this fire as anyone. It's their fucking fault. Condemnations of MAGA anti-Semitism are too little, too late. They all need to condemn MAGA and vow to destroy it, as all good Americans have already done. Happy New Year, everybody. I'm Ron Reader, and this has been Ron Reader Digs the Universe. Join me, Ron Reader, again next week for another episode of Ron Reader Digs the Universe.